So UFC 291 just wrapped up, Poirier vs Gaethje 2, and I'm going to be going through the whole card, starting with the early prelim, going to the main event, and giving my reaction and breakdown of every single fight on the card. And what a card it was! UFC 291. We had 11 fights, 9 of which got finished. I believe there were 5 submissions or 4 submissions, 5 knockouts. Knockouts went to Gaethje, Derrick Lewis, um, who else got knockouts? Roman Kopylov and Uros, and then submissions went to Miranda, Maverick, Gabriel, Bonfim, Bobby Green, and Kevin Holland. And I believe there was one more as well, which I missed. But and Jake Mathews. So 5 submissions, 4 knockouts. Bonuses went to Derrick Lewis, Dustin, Gaethje, Bobby Green, and Kevin Holland. But it was just an amazing card, top to bottom. Never really a dull moment throughout the card. There was kind of one or two fights which weren't the best, but apart from that, everything was amazing. So yeah, starting off with the early prelim opener, Miranda Maverick versus Prasilla Cachoeira. Um, I picked Miranda Maverick to win this fight by decision, and she got a submission in the third round. It was a very impressive performance from her. She got a armbar in the third round, was dominant, got takedowns in early in the first, early in the second, held a lot of control time, did some damage with the elbows, softened her up a little bit. Cachoeira just really didn't show much ability to get up from bottom. Miranda Maverick landed some big shots. Cachoeira kept grabbing the cage or interlocking her toes in the cage and kept having to get that stopped. But apart from that, she really had no moments. It was all Miranda Maverick. Landed a few good shots on the feet, got the takedowns, went for the armbar in the third round. She said post-fight she wanted to have her softened up and have no more fight left in her before she got the submission, and she definitely did do that. Um, by the time she tapped, Prasilla kind of tapped once, the ref didn't step in, and Miranda Maverick held on to it, and then eventually she tapped, and the fight was over. So really impressive from her, and I got my first pick on the card right. But moving up the card, Mathew Semelsberger versus Uros. Is the one and only fight on the card which I got wrong. I picked Mathew Semelsberger to get a KO, and he almost did in the first round. He looked really good early. Um, Dropped him bad with I think it was a right hand. But he's just shown in his last few fights, Mathew Semelsberger, an extreme lack of finishing ability. When he chases you to the ground, he doesn't land the effective ground and pound needed to get you out of there. And it happened again in this fight. He dropped him badly, sat Uros down, and then followed him to the ground, even though his corner was just pleading with him to stand up. But apart from that, and he didn't, and then got a big up kick landed on him, got stumbled, and then didn't finish him. Went into the second. Uros had a better second round, landed some good shots, was technically better on the feet. And then in the third round, another pretty back and forth round, Medic landed a big shot, kind of rocked Semelsberger. He was okay, kind of backing him in on, and then landed a big spinning kind of back forearm and put him down. And then followed up with ground and pound and won the fight by a knockout in the third round. So really impressive from Uros Medic. But moving up the card, um, Jake Mathews versus Darius Flowers. I picked Jake Mathews by knockout, and he got a submission. Pretty much went as expected. He looked pretty good on the feet, nice and clean. Was touching up Darius Flowers with the body shots, hurting him into the body with those teeps. Some point during the first round, Mathews landed a big shot. Darius kind of played possum, faked being hurt a little bit, kind of like wobbled a little bit. Mathews came in, didn't fall for the bait, and he kind of pointed at him and said, "I got you." It was kind of funny, but then in the second round, 10 seconds in, Mathews landed a kick to the body, which the heel, so the toes stabbed into the body, but then the heel of the foot hit the groin area of Darius Flowers, and he took a bunch of time, kind of dived to the floor. But fight continued. Mathews kept landing the better shots. Darius didn't really have any moments. Jake Mathews got a takedown, got him down to the ground. Um, Darius Flowers' mouthpiece kept kind of coming out. I don't know if he was pushing it out, because if he did, then that should be somewhat illegal in my opinion. But regardless, landed some good shots. Went for a little Kimura trap, Kimura setup to distract Flowers, and then passed over into Mount, where he just ground and pounded away. And then Darius turned his back, gave up the back, and got rear naked, choked, unconscious. Or not unconscious, sorry, he tapped out pretty prematurely, but tapped out in the second, I believe it was, and Jake Mathews got a win. He called out Kevin Holland post-fight. I don't see that happening, but not a bad call-out. Moving up the card, though, CJ Vegara versus Vinicius Salvador. Sorry, Roman Kopylov versus Claudio Riberio. I got the card order wrong. Roman Kopylov versus Claudio Riberio. Roman Kopylov got a knockout. I picked him to do so. First round, he was winning pretty much the whole time. He was looking really good. doing well with the body shots, landing some clean right hands. Claudio Riberio was kind of tentative early, not really throwing much. He got a bit wobbled, a bit rocked early, was covering up, just shelling up and getting some big shots landed on him. Pretty clear rounds for Kopylov, and then 10 seconds to go. Riberio landed a big shot, and when Kopylov was running around the octagon, covering up, survived the end of the first, but pretty soon into the second came out, was timed him and landed a big head kick and put him down and out, and got the knockout victory, which I thought should have gotten a performance bonus, but regardless, still got the win by a big impressive head kick knockout. He was frozen, kind of sitting down, not all the way out, and then landed one more big shot and put him out. Finished the fight there. Really impressive from Roman Kopylov. Um, he called out someone, I believe. He called out Neil Magny, I think it was. No, regardless, I think he did call someone out. He called out Sean Strickland. Yeah, he called out Sean Strickland post fight. That's not going to happen. They've given Sean Strickland enough OV fucking up and comers, so I doubt that'll happen. But really impressive performance from him. Head kick knockout was great to see, and not the only head kick knockout that happened on the card. Moving up the card though, Vinicius Salvador versus CJ Vegara. Weird fight, not the most entertaining. And the first fight on the card, and only one of two fights that didn't go to distance. CJ Vegara, Vinicius Salvador. They were kind of going back and forth a little bit. Nothing really significant landing the whole fight. Round one, I believe, was Vinicius Salvador's. Or so out of the first two rounds, I think one of them went to Salvador, one went to Vegara, and then Vegara won the third round pretty clearly. They were both kind of doing some weird little like showmanship, kind of pointing at each other, putting these hands down, like sticking their chin out, going like, "Here, hit me in the chin." Weird stuff, acting like they were like schooling the other fighter. But it wasn't the most entertaining fight. Like it was flyweight, so they're always technical, but even these guys didn't look overly quick or overly like technical or really good on the feet either. No grappling in this fight. It was kind of just back and forth on the feet, landing shots, few leg kicks from each. 1-1 going into the third, and then Vegara just did a bit better in the third, landed bigger shots. Kind of rocked Salvador at a few moments and got the unanimous decision 29-28, which is exactly what I picked him to win by on my Instagram over at Left Lane MMA. If you want to see my whole card picks over there, but picked him 20 UD 29-20, and he did so. So happy with that. Not the most entertaining fight. Vinicius Salvador looks kind of confused post fight with the decision. Like, bro, you didn't win clearly. I don't know why you're complaining. But regardless, decent fight. Win for CJ Vegara. Not extremely impressive, but a win nonetheless. But moving up the card, Gabriel Bonfim versus Trevin Giles. Not a lot to talk about here. A minute 13 seconds was all that was required for Gabriel Bonfim. He got a guillotine submission very quickly in the fight. They were kind of trading back and forth a little bit on feet. Bonfim looked a little bit wild again, like he did in his debut against Munoz Lazez. He was kind of being a bit reckless, and I was like, bro, don't go too reckless. Giles has some power. But he got a grappling exchange, got a really nice takedown, got a kind of outside drip, ended up in a sort of half guardy kind of side control, or three-quarter guard, and then passed over, jumped onto the neck, and then pulled onto that guillotine, and it was tight from the beginning. Giles fought as hard as he could, but wasn't able to get out of it and tapped out minute 13 seconds. And with the 49-second guillotine in the debut, that's if maths serves me correctly here, that is 2 minutes and 2 seconds for his first two fights in the octagon, which is really impressive stuff from him. And he's the one that called out Neil Magny post fight. I don't mind it. I'd say they're probably going to ask him one more unranked fighter, but Neil Magny in the debut, maybe Brazil card. I don't mind that. But let's move up to the main card. Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. I picked Kevin Holland to win by, I believe I said round 2 TKO was my call. He got a submission in the first round, which was very impressive to see and quite unexpected too. Chiesa looked pretty terrible on the feet, if I'm going to say it honestly. Really didn't look good. He was getting hurt by almost everything that Holland's threw. I know Holland's got power, but he was landing jabs and they were hurting Chiesa. He was kind of hunching over, not reacting well to shots. Obviously, that year and a half layoff is one of my big concern when picking Chiesa. So I obviously did pick Holland in this matchup. But Holland landed well. Chiesa was going for takedowns. Holland was stuffing him well, which was the one thing I was just hoping that Chiesa didn't get the takedown and just wet blanket him. But Holland did really well on takedown defense. He ended up, I do forget what ended up on the ground, but they did end up on the ground in a sort of thing. Michael Chiesa went back, shot for the legs. Kevin Holland ended up in like a north-south front headlock position and then turned it into a dash choke, which he's known for getting, and tapped out Michael Chiesa in the first round. Really impressive from him. Um, I didn't really listen to all of his post-fight speech because I had mates over. We were all kind of talking and stuff, so we didn't hear the whole interview. But I do believe he said that he wanted to move up to middleweight, which was really weird. I don't know why he would do that. He doesn't even cut that much weight for welterweight, I don't think. Um, and he's now going to be ranked to welterweight, so that's going to provide a bunch of opportunities for him. So I don't know why he wouldn't just stay at 170 pounds. But I like the idea of him versus Jack Della Maddalena in Australia because it said that Della's not going to fight Sean Brady now, and now Kevin Holland's ranked where that fight didn't really make sense for UFC 290, but now it kind of does make sense, and that Australia card needs a big fight on there to get people excited. So I don't mind that if they do that, but if Holland really goes up to middleweight, then we saw how that went early in his career. He just gets wrestle fucked by anyone who can grapple, really. Michael Chiesa, though, was old and he's able to kind of escape those takedowns. But really impressive still from Holland. Got a performance bonus for his submission and a really good performance. Moving up the card, Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green. This was a rough one to watch. We all kind of knew what was going to happen going into it. I picked Bobby Green by decision. I thought he was just outclassed Tony, be way too quick for him, but he wouldn't put him away with strikes, and I didn't see Bobby Green grappling offensively. But turns out, Tony Ferguson, we'll go from the first round. It was pretty back and forth on the feet very early. Ferguson landed a good shot. He actually dropped Bobby Green, maybe a bit off balance, but did drop Bobby Green, so it looked alright. But Bobby Green was landing way more output in the first round. Second round, pretty dominant from Bobby Green. Landed some big shots on top of him. They ended up on the ground too, and then even on the feet was just too quick from landing the 1-2s. And Tony just wasn't looking the best. He was kind of shelling away, running away from shots like he was in the Diaz fight. I'd say he looked better now than in the Diaz fight, but he's clearly just way past his prime. But then third round again, Ferguson was losing pretty clearly. Bobby Green winning easily. But then Ferguson went for like a sort of M&O roll, failed, ended up in bottom side control. Bobby Green passed over the guard, passed over the mountain, got the head and arm choke, and it was very tight. Ferguson was trying his best to stay in there. He was on mount with it, kind of leaning to one side, and then he eventually just passed all the way over to the side where you need to go to get the head and arm choke, and he got it. Ferguson went out unconscious. 5 or 6 seconds to go in the fight. So it would have been nice to see him make the distance, but he did get subbed. I hope he retires. I don't think he's going to because he left early. He left after the decision was read and didn't stick around to say if he was retiring or not. So I don't imagine he is. But very tough to watch as a Tony Ferguson, well, not even fan, just anyone. We all wanted to see Tony win, but unfortunately couldn't get it done. But impressive work from Bobby Green. Moving on up the card, Derrick Lewis versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Much better note on this one. This is a much more exciting fight to talk about. Derrick Lewis came out there with the fucking flying knee, like 5 seconds in, channeling his inner Masvidal, who was cage side at this event. Just came out there, bam, flying knee right up the middle, landed clean. Looked like he almost KO'd Marcos Rogerio de Lima straight away, but didn't. Marcos fought back. Lewis went to ground and pound. I was kind of worried, to be honest, that he was going to gas himself out on ground and pound when Marcos looked like he did briefly escape. But just big shots, hammer fisting away, and just enough shots is enough for the ref to stop it. And he stopped it. Derrick Lewis ran around the cage, took his pants off, jumped up on the top of the octagon and had a great post-fight speech. It was really entertaining to watch and really livened up the card after the Bobby Green versus Tony Ferguson fight, which was a bit of a spirit dampener, even though it was an impressive finish. But this one really got the crowd going. Derrick Lewis had a great time, took his shorts off, was dancing around, and had a great moment post-speech, post-mic, or post-fight, sorry. But really impressive from him, got a bonus. Obviously, the flying knee, not something you often see at the heavyweight level, but really impressive stuff from Derrick Lewis. Moving up the card, though, to the co-main event, Alex Pereira versus Jan Blachowicz. Alex Pereira won a split decision, 29-28, 28-29, and 29-28 for Alex Pereira. It was the first round clear for Jan Blachowicz. He got takedown. He got the takedown very early, held him down, had many choke attempts that could have that were warranted as submission attempts. Definitely really effective stuff from him. But Pereira held on, survived. Was held in the body triangle for pretty much the whole round. So clear round for Jan Blachowicz. Second round, Alex Pereira clearly won. It was another story of the takedown, but late in the round, Pereira got up and landed some massive shots. And as the scoring criteria clearly states, damage trumps all. And Alex Pereira did a bunch of damage in that second round at the end. And Blachowicz looked really gassed. And I was like, let's go, because I picked Pereira to win by knockout. But I was like, let's go. He could get a finish here. Jan's gassed. But then third round comes, pretty back and forth, stood for a bit. A few takedown attempts. Jan Blachowicz, they both landed some good shots. Pereira landed some good knees in the clinch when Blachowicz came into the takedowns, and he was still looking really gassed. But Blachowicz landed some good leg kicks, had a nice flurry of punches, which Pereira said he wasn't affected by. He was like, come on, yeah, that's all right. But Pereira, I think, won that round. I think he landed some bigger shots. He landed good leg kicks, some good punches, good right hands, and the body shots still as well. So I did score at 29-28 for Pereira. Blachowicz did get a takedown with about 30 seconds to go and held the control time there. But takedowns without damage mean nothing. So I thought it was a correct decision for Alex Pereira. But regardless, I don't think no one's really saying it's a robbery, but close-ish, pretty relatively impressive. He needs to work on that grappling still, because if Blachowicz is taking you down, then you're going to get ragdolled by a guy like Ankalaev. But looks like his next fight probably will be against Yuri Prochazka, and I would favour him to win that in the stand-up, because I doubt Yuri's going to shoot a takedown. But yeah, really impressive stuff from him. Apart from that, yeah. Moving on though, main event: Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier 2. This one is one to talk about. Justin Gaethje got a knockout in the first minute of the second round with a head kick, Leon Edwards-esque, headshot dead. You can say all of that. I picked him to win the fight I said third round knockout, I believe was my official call. Got it done in the second round. I was pretty close. I thought he was going to get it, like a TKO, but he flatlines Dustin Poirier. Um, Really impressive performance from him. Big first round. Let's talk about that. He was doing pretty good early. Landing some good leg kicks. He was winning the first round, but then for like the first 2.5 minutes. But then Poirier landed a nice shot, which landed right in the eye of Justin Gaethje and affected that. It was not an eye poke. He was blinking his eye like this and stuff, like kind of like holding at it. But it wasn't. It was a legal shot, and so that was causing some trouble. Poirier cut him about kind of around the side of the head, like around here. So that was kind of damage rule. So I guess you score that first round for Poirier on damage. But Gaethje had a lot of success with the leg kicks and landed some good shots to the body as well. But then second round comes pretty back and forth early. Some decent shots from Gaethje. Landed a good body rip pretty early in the round, but then set up that head kick beautifully. Threw out the left hand, followed up with the kick, and put the right hand behind it, and then bam, kick went up. And then Poirier blocked it, but it got right around the guard and hit him kind of on the neck here around the jugular vein. And that put Poirier out cold. And then one more hammer fist closed the show for Justin Gaethje. Extremely impressive performance from him. Definitely performance bonus. I think knockout of the year for me. Definitely knockout of the month for sure, because I'll be doing that. I'll be doing that July recap video pretty shortly. I'll get that out next week, I hope. Will be my goal. But massive KO for Justin Gaethje, and new BMF champion. If you want to hold any value in that, he'll take Dustin Poirier's number 2 spot. He'll be the number 2 ranked lightweight come Tuesday. But yeah, really impressive stuff from Justin Gaethje. Not much else to say. It was 6 minutes of action. I thought it would go a bit longer. I thought it would kind of be a bit of a slugfest back and forth for a very long time. And the first round did kind of look like that. You got that vibe. You're like, we're going long here, or like we're going back and forth for a while. But Gaethje looked a lot better. Really technical and impressive performance from him. Even in the first, where he did get Poirier landed some big shots on him. But when he's not in balling mode, and when Gaethje actually focuses on landing the right shots at the right time, he's as good as anyone on the feet at lightweight, in my opinion. I think as much as I love Oliveira, I think the patient Gaethje that doesn't rush in like a moron and swing himself over and leave himself open. When he's defensive, I think he has the tools to beat. I'm not saying he would beat Oliveira. I do think Oliveira would still win that fight by submission. But if you if you just like look at that, I think he beats a lot of guys on the feet. And now let's just talk about the other lightweights. That really doesn't look like a bad loss for Rafael Fiziev to have on his resume, given that Fiziev won the first round very clearly in their matchup. So first round for Fiziev could very well be the best stand-up fighter in the lightweight division. So that he's going to look at that and be like, well, this guy's just KO Dustin Poirier, and he made it look easier than he made me look. So he'd be pretty happy with that, to be honest. But yeah, as far as who of them get next, I think Justin Gaethje very well can just wait for a title shot. I think he can say, "Give me a title shot." You know what? I can't. Conor McGregor called him out post fight. Conor doesn't want that fight; he'll get absolutely smoked. Um, but I could see that happening if Conor still doesn't want to fight Chandler. Gaethje's even higher ranked, and fighting the guy with the BMF title would be maybe a bit more rewarding than fighting Michael Chandler. But apart from that, still just an unbelievably impressive performance from Justin Gaethje. And then Poirier is going to need to take a lot of time off with that bad KO loss. I say you do him versus the winner of Fiziev versus Gamrot. Or maybe you do him versus the winner of Sayukian versus Darius if that fight happens. So some options there for Poirier, but he'll take some time off. Pretty sad for him. He's not going to be getting a title. I think that's kind of him gone for title shots now in the lightweight division. But yeah, super impressive from Justin Gaethje. What a card it was, UFC 291. Amazing card. As I said, nine finishes out of 11 fights. On the picks, I got Miranda Maverick right. I got Matthew Semelsberger wrong. I got Jake Mathews right. I got Roman Kopylov right. I got CJ Vegara right. I got Gabriel Bonfim right. I got Kevin Holland right. I got Bobby Green right. I got Derrick Lewis right. I got Alex Pereira right, and I got Justin Gaethje right. So 10 out of 11 on picks for me. If Matthew Semelsberger knew how to finish a fight, then I probably would have aced this card. But regardless, I'm really happy. I'd give the card a 9 out of 10, honestly. I'd say, and it probably would have been a 10 or a 9.5 out of 10 if a few of those matchups stayed on there. See how good this card was, and imagine how much better it would have been with Thompson versus Pereira, and then Costa versus Ikram as well. Would have made the cards so much more exciting. But still, 11 fights is about as good as you'll get for 11 fights. All action. The crowd was packed from the beginning of the card, and it was just all around really exciting to watch. I had my mates over. We had a great time watching the card. And this is a pay-per-view that everyone's going to go back and rewatch. The main card was amazing. So many finishes, so many highlight reel moments, and a KO of the year candidate from Justin Gaethje. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.